Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another one of our online Bible studies. So I hope your day is going well. It's actually a cold and rainy day here in Chicago. I'm currently in my basement. You can see my old drum set here that is not set up. Today we're going to be going through the book of Jonah. So it's actually only, I think, 4 chapters long. So if you want to add another book of the Bible that you've entirely read to your repertoire, go ahead and just read the whole thing. But we're actually just going to start with chapter 3. So if you just want to do the study, go ahead and read chapter 3 and then come on back. All right, cool. So in this chapter, basically, Jonah goes to the city of Nineveh, proclaims their pending doom and apocalyptic nature, and then they all repent, and it doesn't get destroyed, which is completely different from all of the other apocalyptic stories that we've seen, because there's actually no destruction. So it's salvation in this one. So that's like super cool, right? Jonah should be pumped. They listened to him, they repented, and now everything's great. Why don't you go ahead and read chapter 4 and then come right back and we'll talk about it. All right, so in this chapter, we actually get to see that Noah's kind of not happy that the city didn't get destroyed. He even builds a hut away from the city so that he can watch and hopefully see the destruction, but it doesn't happen. And so he's not happy with God. We also get a kind of a weird thing with a plant, and then God uses that plant to show that he cares for the Ninevites. So it's kind of a strange thing, but hopefully we can dive into more what it means. All right, so God kind of uses this plant to put Jonah in his place. Jonah is so concerned about this plant that he didn't grow; it just kind of appeared, and he's so sad about it. But he doesn't care about the potential destruction of all the Ninevites. He's actually kind of rooting for it. He's looking forward to seeing it, even though the Ninevites repented. So God kind of chastises Noah and says, no, like, I care about these people. They repented. I'm not going to destroy them. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, we're going to move on to Matthew chapter 12, verses 40 through 41. So go ahead and read that and then come right back. All right, so here Jesus is talking about the final judgment, and we get the parallel of the Jonah being in the whale for 3 days and then Christ being in the tomb for 3 days. But then we also get the verse 41, which is really interesting because it's talking about how the men of Nineveh will rise up and say, like, we repented and like we listened, and it was only a prophet, and you guys failed to listen and you failed to repent, and you had someone greater than Jonah. So it's really interesting to think about, like, we as Catholics are given the actual gift of being able to know Jesus, and yet sometimes we still choose to turn away and to not repent. And the people of Nineveh met Jonah, and instantly their hearts were changed, and they offered sacrifices and converted their hearts to God. So it kind of puts everything in perspective, and maybe we should act a little bit more like the Ninevites in their conversion. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is kind of Jonah's anger at Nineveh, and really wanting and wishing for its destruction. And I think we can relate to Jonah here more than you might think at first glance. So kind of think, has there ever been a time in your life where you see somebody living in a life of sin, and you're almost a little bit jealous of them? It looks attractive, it looks cool. Like, I mean, that's what the entire culture of today kind of can tell us about certain things. Like, this is the way that we should be living, and it's fun, it's happy, it's exciting. And you kind of sit there and you're like, well, I just I want that, but it's in reality it's not good for you. And so you get a little angry with God. You're like, why am I forced to not take part in that? Like, what's preventing me from this? Why are you, God, keeping me from this supposed life of happiness? When in actuality that's not the case at all. So I think it's really interesting. And I was sitting down thinking the other day, and it's kind of like, this is weird, so stay with me here. The only way that I could kind of rationalize this in my mind was if I imagine I'm staring at a room, right? And I'm standing and I want to go in the room, and the room kind of represents living in that sin that's supposedly super great, super fun, whatever. And God is telling me don't go in the room, and all I'm doing is standing outside the room, looking at the room, wanting to go in the room, and I'm just getting more angry and more upset. But what I don't realize is that, behind me is like an entirely vast open field filled with amazing places to explore, and they're like an infinite possibility of adventure. But all I'm focused on is staring at this one tiny small room, which is supposedly amazing. I'm just not like turning around. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, maybe watch it again and maybe it will. I don't know. um, yeah, so that's just one way that I've rationalized it is, maybe just stop focusing on this one single thing and turn around and look at all of the blessings that you can enjoy, and you'll see that at the end of the day the blessings completely outweigh and are infinitely better than this one tiny room that you can't go into in actuality, which would lead to your destruction. That's all I have for today. I know it's a little bit on the shorter end, but I hope you guys still enjoy it. Feel free to look at the discussion questions in the document, which is in the description below. Hope you guys have a great day.